So hi everyone, if I'm audible then respond here in the chat window. Hopefully you all are doing great, यानी आप सब बहुत ही बेहतरीन और अच्छे होंगे. So hello everyone, hello everyone. So respond here if I'm audible. Yes, audible. Okay. So निरंतर संख्या घटती हुई व्यूअर्स की 14, 15. Okay. So first of all, if you have any question regarding the last session, ये कौन सी लैंग्वेज रिदम नहीं है यो क्या है. Okay. Oh, I need to use Google Translator but I don't have time. Okay, no issues. So any questions you have, regarding this last session or anything in Kubernetes? Fine. Then you can let me know. So I can see. Okay. Fine. Anyways, so what we are going to do today, we are going to talk about one more case. Okay. Using secret in database pod. Okay, so that means you can use your secret to create your database pod, and the same way we can use C. So if you remember how exactly we are launching pod of database, or how exactly we are launching a container of database. So if you remember the fact, then let me connect with my system, and this is my client machine. Here I am just going to start with database container. So do you remember how exactly we are launching database container? By using -name db -e mysql _root _password that says k8s123 and mysql. Okay, so we are creating a container with the name of db by using mysql environment variable, right? So did we discussed about how to launch a database container using this? I mean, this command we discussed in the Docker session or not? तो कृपया बताने का कष्ट करें, क्या हमने ये वाली कमांड, आई मीन दिस मेथड डिस्कस किया था डॉकर के सेशन में या नहीं? यस, किया था. ओके, फाइन. Great. Now in the very similar way, like we are launching a database container like this, so how we can launch a pod in Kubernetes? So definitely we never want to share this kind of username and password directly to a database container. So what we need to do the same thing in Kubernetes, we have to create a secret, right? A secret that's a name db info, and the secret we need to create of generic type, right? And name is db info, then hyphen from literals, let's say p is equals to k8s 123. So I created this secret of generic type name ddinf, and this secret got created here, okay, dbinf. Now what I can do is I can use this secret to my database pod or deployment. Fine. So I'm just giving you some idea about a database pod. So as an assignment, what you have to do, not right now, I'll plan it accordingly. So what you have to do, let's say this is your Kubernetes master minions, okay? So in near future, as an assignment, what you have to do is you have to run a web pod here, and that pod will be sharing any of the web application framework like Python, Flask or Django, either Flask or Django, or any node application, any kind of, or any Java application in this pod. Now another pod will be running in different worker node, or maybe in the same worker node as well. So what you need to do in upcoming future, you have to run this pod as a database pod. Then you have to write code in your Python, Flask or Django to connect these database pod, so that if a user is connecting to this pod by using service and everything, that we know how it is connecting. So this Django or Flask pod can redirect its connection to this database. Okay, so this pod is a database pod. So you need to connect internally this pod to pod. You don't have to connect by a node port or something. So that's why I'm just giving you some idea how to start a pod of database in Kubernetes cluster. So the step number one is to create secret first and use this secret in the pod or deployment or replica set file, and expose environment variable to create a container, right? So that's why I just created a secret of generic type dbinfo and hyphen from literals this password. You can assign multiple values like a host, username and many more things accordingly. Okay, so now I'm creating a deployment or simply a pod. So I'm creating create deployment called Ashutoshh and hyphen image MySQL hyphen dry run -o and -yaml. Fine. I'm redirecting this to db-dep.yml. Enter. Right. And in db-dep.yml, I'm going to use first container port keyword, because database MySQL is running on a 3306 port number. Container port is 3306, and definitely the env I'm going to use is here -name. Here you have to give the same variable that MySQL is already having. So MySQL root password and then value from keyword, I hope you remember that it was secret key reference. Secret key reference. And under secret key reference, I have to write name of secret, let's say DBINF, and the key is, what was the key? I think it was a P. So the key name is P. Fine. So this is syntax of, okay, this is a key of secret where password of database is stored, right? Environment variable in Docker image, right? So this is quite very much understood, because we are understanding the scenario that yes, it is very much similar to other references. So I'm just creating -fdb create.yml. It got created, and I'm checking for this pod. So it is Ashutoshh, and I'm just putting it -watch option, and the status is up and running now. Okay, so it's very simple scenario. If I want to check this pod that is running, so I can go by kubectl exec it ashutoshh and bash. So I am inside database pod. I can use mysql -u root -p k8s123, and I'm logging. What is this? k8s123. k8s123. Yes. So I am inside database. Okay. Just let me ask, how many of you are not having any knowledge about database? I mean, if you don't have, just say no. If you have, say yes. Any of the database, MySQL or MariaDB or maybe Mongo, maybe Oracle, any of the database. If you have, just type yes. If you don't have, type no. So give your response in the chat window so that I can understand. So is there someone who is not having any of the database knowledge? Right? Great. That means almost everybody is, understanding that. Okay. If you have this knowledge, what task you need to perform here? So let's say task to perform in database is you create a database pod like this, okay, and then this is your Kubernetes cluster. From your personal laptop or PC, you need to connect to this database pod to create a database by the name of K8s and create a table called services and write all the name of service like ID, name and IP address. So what you have to do is You have to create a database pod like the way I've created. Then you have to access that database from your client machine, not like this. That means use any of the software from this machine to connect your database running in this server. Okay, and now it's up to you. You are going to expose service either of cluster IP or node port. That is very much up to you, but you can use that. So the ultimate goal is the pod of database is running in the Kubernetes cluster, but you have to connect database remotely. Okay, just give me a second. Hello. Alright guys, I'm back. I hope it's audible now again. Don't know, it was just a call, stop call. Okay, so I mean, just respond here if you are able to hear me and you are able to view that screen also, that I got stopped. Okay, great. Yes, so the thing is, first of all, respond here. Are you understanding this particular assignment or task? The database is running like a pod in Kubernetes cluster. Now either in your Windows CMD or PowerShell or Linux terminal, right, you have to use mysql-u, some kind of command, so that you can connect your database from remotely from this machine. You don't have to go to the database pod by kubectl exec. So you have to connect from this remote machine. Okay, or you can use some software. There are a couple of software to connect your database remotely. Like if you are using PHP language, you can use PHP my admin or something, right? So use whatever you want, but I want to give you that idea that you have to connect by this. So Sono, if you think that is going to work for you, you can use that as well. So there is no problem from my end, but you have to use both way. If your port forwarding is also working, that's fine. Rest you need to independently connect your database pod from remote machine. So is it very much understood? That is the IP address, sorry, how you are going to access this database pod from remote machine. Okay, so anyway, so now I'm going to discuss about user management in Kubernetes. Okay, so some not a very extreme or big level ideas, but few understanding of users in Kubernetes. So first of all, you have to understand what is the role of user. So by default Kubernetes come with two category of user. The one that is management user, and the second one is service user, or we can say service account. Okay, so service user and management user. Now what is management user? The user that is responsible for authenticating your Kubernetes API request. So for example, from a kubectl command line, if you are connecting to your Kubernetes master or control plane component, and here kube API server is running, then from this place to the target you are connecting with some user. Now this user is forwarding request to the worker node, and worker node is trying to create your pod or your service or your replica set. Okay, so not exactly worker node is performing this. So every worker node has configured with the namespace, and that namespace has service account. So actually who is creating resources in Kubernetes? That is service account. Okay, so let's say if you are connecting to this, then this is going to authenticate yourself. I mean, it will check username and password. It will forward the request to worker node with a namespace. Okay, अगर ये बात थोड़ी सी शायद घूम रही हो या समझ में ना आ रही हो, तो let me give you another way. For example, मान लिया कि this is your Kubernetes master and this is minion, right? Kubernetes master has a component running, that is kube API server. ठीक है, कौन सा component है? Kube API server. We are connecting this kube API server from remote client by using kubectl command. As of now kubectl command से connect करते हैं. Now we need to have config file, because kubectl command is reading information from here, and then we are connecting it to kube API server. So in this config file there is a user name configured. By using that username and its password or keys, you are sending a request to kube API server. If the kube API server is validating these user, मतलब ये इसको verify कर पा रहा है, तो kube API server will let you in Kubernetes architecture, and by step process, your scheduler, node controller, or whatever you have, you will be authenticating to them. Then you go to a particular worker node. We know that worker node are sharing the common namespace, whatever we are creating. Now under this namespace, if you are requested to create a pod, then this user by which you send a request to kube API server is not responsible for creating pod. So there is another user binded with namespace, and that user we call it service account. So exactly any namespace that you create by own or Kubernetes is creating it, it will create your pod, service and many other things. Okay, so पहली बात ये बात समझ में आनी चाहिए that Kubernetes is sending a request to API server जिसमें यूज़र नेम पासवर्ड आपकी कॉन्फ़िग फाइल में लिखा होता है. पासवर्ड बोल दो या कीज़ बोल दो, ये लिखी होती है, ये इसे यहाँ भेजता है. देन Kubernetes API सर्वर विल वेरीफाई इट. अगर ये वेरिफिकेशन आपको मिल गया तो आप अंदर की सर्विसेज से कनेक्ट करते 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 फाइनली शेड्यूल होके कहाँ पहुँचोगे? वर्कर नोड में. वर्कर नोड हमेशा किसी न किसी नेम स्पेस से कनेक्टेड रहेंगे वेयर यू वांट टू डिप्लॉय योर पॉड. फाइन. once you deploy your pod like this, so क्या होगा, ये pod बनाने के लिए जो अकाउंट चाहिए वो ये वाला नहीं होता है, वो होता है सर्विस अकाउंट. कौन सा होता है? सर्विस अकाउंट. So service account is responsible for actually performing the job. यदि ये बात समझ में आ रही है तो आप बहुत ही अच्छे से हाँ बोल सकते हैं, yes in the chat window. Okay, meanwhile Tej is asking, so this like we have seen in KTS exam. Oh yes, exactly same Tej. So जो मैंने आपको बना के दिए थे ऐसे different accounts, ये वैसे ही हैं. Okay, so ये बात बिल्कुल से समझ में आ रही है. Fine. Right. Okay.